Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the Cryptoverse. Today, we're going to talk about Bitcoin, and we're going to be providing an update to the bull market support band. If you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and check out the sale on Into the Cryptoverse Premium at intothecryptoverse.com. Links in the description below or the pinned comment. Make sure you check that out. We have a lot of charts that you'll get access to for a lot of different cryptocurrencies, as well as equities and precious metals and macro models as well. So a lot to look at. So we're going to provide an update here to Bitcoin. The 20-week SMA is now at 30K. The 21-week EMA is at around 31K. So it more or less ranges from 30 to 31K. And the reason that we look at that is because, during pullbacks, to maintain the integrity of the uptrend, you would generally expect that to hold, right? Like, so it held back over here in March of 2023, only a very brief wick. And then the next test was a more significant test in June. And then the following time we actually fell below it, which, I think we were, I generally did expect it to fall below based on the seasonality of the S&P 500 in Q3 of pre-election years. It seemed like that was a good time for Bitcoin to fall below its own bull market support band, which it did. But then it broke right back out, to the upside, right? Really sort of like defying what it did in 2019 and sort of carving out its own path this year. And it's broken out, and it's significantly above the bull market support band now. So again, if and when there's a pullback, that would be the main area to look at is that 20-week SMA, 21-week EMA, which currently the 20-week SMA is just below these prior local tops. The 21-week EMA is actually right there at those prior wicks, right? So that would be sort of the area that the bulls would want to see hold if it gets a pullback, right? And there's no guarantee that it's going to get a pullback this week. It could always continue sort of slowly grinding higher. We just provide the update, for when it does, right? I mean, over here we did the same thing. It's not like we knew exactly when it was going to retest it. We knew at some point it would, and when it did, it held the line in March, and then it did the same thing in June. What's interesting, if you look at a date range on here, and you look at weeks from like lows, right? So there's a low November 21st, that week, right? The week of November 21st. And you go out to that next low, 15 weeks. If you take this low out to the next one, it was 14 weeks. If you take this low out to the next one, it was 13 weeks. If you take this low out to where we currently are, it's at 10 weeks. So, like 13 weeks would put you in the week of December 11th. 14 weeks would put you December 18th. 15 would put you December 25th. And then that week, the 16 weeks would put you, first week of January. And then 17 would put you second week, January 8th that week. Which just gives you an idea of how long we've seen prior, moves to the upside last before they come back and, sort of touch base with the bull market support band. So just something to sort of think about. I also think sometimes it's interesting to look at the extension from the 20-week SMA, and you could view this a couple of different ways. One way is to look at the short-term bubble risk, which is just looking at like the extension from the 20-week SMA. And what you'll see here is that it's essentially at the same levels that it was at, where it was extended back in January. This again is with respect to the 20-week SMA, not the 21-week EMA, because it might look like it's more extended over here than it was over here, but that's only because the 21-week EMA, was much further up than the 20-week SMA at the time. The 20-week SMA takes obviously longer to react, but if you can imagine the green line's not here and you're only looking at the red line, which you can actually really quickly do if we just pull up the 20-week SMA, right? Like, so like this extension here is actually really similar to the current extension that we're at. And if you were to draw a line across the page at the current sort of extension from the 20-week moving average, you can see that is where it extended, in January and again in February. And then the only time it's gone higher than these levels this year was on this move that we got in March, right? Where it actually extended from the 20-week SMA a little bit more than it was back in January and February, and a little bit more than it is now. Another way to visualize that is to look at the natural log of the price over the 20-week moving average, right? And you can see, kind of where it is in relation to sort of where it's previously been. And let me pull it up on over here. So if you look at where that extension currently is, and just sort of draw a line across the page just to kind of see how it compares to prior ones, then we'll also draw a line across where the extension from earlier this year topped out at 0.34. Currently it's at 0.23, or so, right? And you can see that like the move that we got in October 2021 topped out around the same spot that it topped out in March 2023 in terms of extension of the 20-week moving average. Obviously, what we got in late 2020 and early 2021 was a lot more significant. In 2019, the extension was not nearly as much as what we got in 2020 and 2021. It topped out, at a valuation of with the natural log of the price over the 20-week moving average, it topped out around 0.6 or 0.61. Again, so far the highest we've seen this year for this metric is around 0.33. And currently it's sort of topped out here recently at 0.23. It's pulled back a little bit to now about 0.21 or so. So somewhere in that ballpark. But that's where we are with the bull market support band. And again, I will always say, one of the reasons we've spoken so much more about Bitcoin this year than if you think back to like 2020, 2021, I was much more, and even late 2019, I started talking a lot more about the altcoin market. But the reason in pre-halving years that I tend to focus mostly on Bitcoin is because the Bitcoin dominance tends to go higher in pre-halving years. And so, as I've said before, in oftentimes in pre-halving years, having a Bitcoin heavy crypto portfolio tends to work out quite well over an altcoin heavy crypto portfolio. And some altcoins have made really good moves. So I acknowledge that, but I acknowledge that a year ago as well. It's not like dominance going higher means that no altcoins outperform Bitcoin. It's just that most of them don't. And we've seen that, right? Dominance has gone higher. Bitcoin heavy crypto portfolio has been better, generally speaking, than an altcoin heavy crypto portfolio. But of course, we could find certainly altcoins that have outperformed Bitcoin over the course of this year. But as we get into the halving year, the post halving year, and whatnot, we might not talk about the other parts of the market a little bit more, just because at some point you would expect sort of those market conditions to ultimately change where all Bitcoin pairs aren't just going down, right? And I know recently a lot of these altcoins have had some pretty impressive moves on their Bitcoin pairs to the upside. But in terms of wanting to see durable moves that can last years, you'd want to probably see some type of change in monetary policy, which will likely come at some point in 24 is my guess. But just sort of give you a heads up. That's sort of my thoughts today, and yeah, we'll see what Bitcoin has in store for us over the next few weeks. So this is what we just had 5 green weeks in a row. So if you think about it, Bitcoin went from 27K just about 5 weeks ago to 37K. So a $10,000 move in a span of about 5 weeks, which is why we're so aggressively above the bull market support band. It's because of just how quickly that move ultimately came. But anyways, if you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and again, check out the sale on Into the Cryptoverse Premium at intothecryptoverse.com. See you guys next time. Bye.